John, Rufus, the guys, Larry, Ralph, all those guys, you're gonna have to ask them how they ended up here. But from them, everything grew out of that.
I was working with a number of people, doing the software systems and the hardware systems. Those people have since gone on to start companies in the Valley. There's a lot of people that are still around. It's a small little knit community here of photonics in the Valley. Big Sky Laser was started 1981 by a fellow named Ed Teppo. Ed came out of China Lake, came out of the Navy. He was a MSU graduate student. So he went to MSU back here in the 60s, got out of the Navy as a civilian, decided to come back to Montana for one of the reasons a lot of people come back, and that is to fish. We've since put in manufacturing. We've gotten away from doing kind of single contracts. We now offer standard products in the laser industry. So in about 1998, there was a merger with Quantel. Quantel is a French company. They acquired Big Sky, and we became Quantel USA. There's been a strong connection with our employees as well. We have a lot of employees, especially in technology and science. Our physicists, our engineers, a lot of those are MSU graduates. They're the perfect graduate too, because usually what happens is they leave the Valley thinking they have to leave the Valley in order to get a good job, right? So a lot of them have gone to, Boeing or Fluke or Tektronix or TI or something like that, not realizing that they could stay in Bozeman. There's some nice companies here to work for.
It started with three old grad school colleagues, myself, Randy Riebel, and Jay Brasser. And Jay was actually the grad student directly before me in John's lab. And Jay had always kind of wanted to start a company with me and Randy. And so he said, hey, we can do this. He had experience being down in Colorado Springs, starting a company down there, or being involved in the start of a company. He said, it's not that hard, we can do this. So we sat down, it was about almost to the day, 4 years ago now. And we wrote 3 proposals, and that was the start of Bridger Photonics. The money started coming in mid-2007. So it's been a little over 3 years we've been in business. And that first half a year, Randy and I wrote proposals, and he worked, I believe, 20% at the company, and I was 50% at the company. The rest of our time was spent at MSU Spectrum Lab. So we were doing other projects for MSU Spectrum Lab. Since then, we've grown from just two of us, Randy and myself, that were basically 50% of us, to now we have 14 employees, and we'll probably do about 1.7 million in revenues this year.
My first connection to the West was through Yellowstone. So when I was young, I fell in love with Yellowstone, the great outdoors, and not only that, the people just amazed me. I worked in Yellowstone while I was going to school. So when I graduated, I had met my wife at that time, and we had a little bet where we said whoever got the best job, that's where we'd go, right? I had come up to go winter camping with a friend of mine in Yellowstone, up in the Washburn Range. When I came through Bozeman. Of course, you can't get through the park in the winter, at least not driving. So I came through Bozeman, and when I was here, I saw an article in the newspaper. And the article in the newspaper was about Ed Teppo and the 3 companies he had started in the mid-'80s. So I said, what's the chance of getting a high-tech job in a small laser company around the park? That would be ideal, right? So that's what I did. I applied for a job the next day. Ed hired me. So we didn't end up in Canyon City, Colorado. We ended up in Bozeman.
I grew up in northeastern Oregon, and grew up on a 20-acre piece of land up in the mountains. And so definitely I'm one of those, they have ocean people, they have desert people, and I'm one of the mountain people. I really enjoy mountains. So, that's guided where I've gone to school. I was at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and I was looking around. I asked my thesis advisor down there. I did an undergraduate thesis. I asked him, where can I do optics in the mountains? And he knew about Montana State, and so I came up here to visit, and I had a friend up here. And the first time I met John, I knew exactly that's the person I want to work with. Every advisor has a different style, and John's style is he sits back and he lets you screw up. He gives you a lot of freedom, and some people that's really good, and other people it's not so good. For me, it was exactly what I needed. And I'll say he gives you a lot of freedom, but then he's the perfect resource. So when you do get stuck, and he'll push you until you really need the help. But when you do get stuck, John's experience is unbeatable.
You name it, somebody's tried to do it with a laser, whether it's cutting fabric or tracking, aircraft, cars, or whatever. Somebody's tried to do it with a laser.
We've really started to focus on 3 core technologies. Precision LiDAR, and that's detecting distances with lasers extremely precisely. Right now, we have the highest resolution LiDAR system in the world, right here in Bozeman. No one can measure a distance more precisely than we can. I can tell you how far away that wall is to within 1,000th of your hair. Our second area is precision LiDAR. That's detecting gases remotely. And we've developed a compact mid-infrared pulsed laser. No one else has. It's just, you can't get this laser. So we send these pulses out, and from the light that we get back, we can tell whether a gas exists or not. And we're hoping to be able to use that system to scan structures to look for the chemicals they use to make meth. So you could basically take this system and law enforcement could scan a structure and they could gather enough evidence to get a search warrant to go in and bust the place.
Our laser was used in a LiDAR system to map the lake trout in Yellowstone Lake. The plane was flown up from Colorado to Gallatin Field here, and we got to see the LiDAR installed in the aircraft, and Joe came out and showed us the system and showed us how it worked, along with Jim Wilson from NOAA. He was there as well. As I understand it, they were able to map the trout pretty well, and they could actually see the trout. The laser light was bright enough they could actually just take visual photographs of the trout.
We're also looking at carbon dioxide, sensing carbon dioxide. That's a hot item right now. With carbon dioxide was declared a pollutant under the Clean Air Act in 2008. So that's a critical issue right now. And we're also, in the future there, we're looking at detecting chemical weapons and things like that.
We also have the lasers that watch the space shuttle. When the Cassini probe went up, it had a nuclear payload on it, so there was a lot of concern when the space shuttle launched what the shuttle was doing, what the orientation of the shuttle was just at liftoff. The ground radar can't pick the shuttle up until it's above the trees. So they decided to use lasers, our lasers, to triangulate the shuttle.
Lasers are really fun to work with. It's hard to describe, put my finger on exactly what it is, but they're just really fun to work with. It's fun.